policies of this progressive government leaving our national security open to terrorism. Here are Michael Scheuer, former CIA senior official, and Mark Mix, president of the National Right to Work. Mark, can the TSA keep us safe?
Well, I believe they can, but one of the issues in the Department of Never Let a Good Crisis Go to Waste has become whether or not they're going to be unionized and whether President Obama is going to make good on a promise to the AFL-CIO and Andy Stern at the SEIU as to whether 60,000 plus government employees are going to be in monopoly unions.
And George Bush caved in on the legislation that the Republican Congress gave him when he fought to keep unionization from happening. It is possible under the law that these guys could be unionized. Would they go on strike?
Well, the law will say that it's illegal to strike, but let's go back to 1981 when air traffic controllers walked off the job in violation of federal law. President Reagan gave them 24 hours to go back on the job, and then he basically enforced the law and said, you're all fired. Now, they'll say they won't go on strike because the law says that they can't, but what we find in many strikes, most of which in the public sector are illegal, is they ask for amnesty as a condition of coming back on the job. And that's unacceptable in this area where national security is at stake.
And they usually get it. Mark and Michael, stick with us, please. More. Back now with Michael Scheuer, former CIA senior official, and Mark Mix, president of the National Right to Work. Michael, the president of the United States has nominated a fellow by the name of Errol Southers to be the head of the TSA. He's a former FBI agent who recently admitted that as an FBI agent, he went in and he looked at and removed secret criminal records on his ex-wife's boyfriend. Is a person like that qualified for national... There he is. Is a person like that, with a background like that, with an admission like that, qualified to receive a national security clearance?
I think it depends on which department. Certainly at the agency, there would be very unlikely to grant that individual clearance, sir.
So he probably shouldn't have a job where he has to have national security clearance.
I would think so. He would have access to an extraordinary amount of data about individuals, but I think your other guest is far more qualified to talk about that than I am.
My other guest, Mark, you know this. He's in favor of the unionization of the TSA. In fact, that's probably why the president nominated him, right?
Well, actually, Judge, he's not saying, and that's one of the issues surrounding this nomination right now in the U.S. Senate. Senator Jim DeMint from South Carolina asked the nominee a question about whether or not he favored the unionization of TSA employees, notwithstanding their role in the national security infrastructure. And the gentleman didn't answer the question. So Senator DeMint put a hold on the nomination and, frankly, is still waiting for that answer. But it's clear it's not the nominee here. This is the President of the United States who will probably tell this nominee that you will agree to the unionization of these employees, right, and when you get confirmed. But again, we've used in this crisis, Harry Reid has said that the only way to keep Americans safe in the air traffic system is to nominate this guy and confirm him right away. That's ridiculous.
Without a thorough background. Michael, back to what we were talking about earlier. You really scared the daylights out of Kilmeade and me this morning on radio when you said that the Al-Qaeda might actually be channel stuffing our security forces with false information in order to clog the channels of intelligence. Could that be?
Yeah, the president really clogged up the system last night. He's now chasing down every lead that comes in. And, Judge, the number of leads that come in each week to the CIA and the intelligence community is astronomical. And you have to have some discretion in where you spend your resources. But the president has created a situation where, to cover people's behinds, they will chase down every single lead. If we get a lead that says Osama's on the beach at Rio, somebody's going to be devoted to that. But more important from my perspective is the president laid out our MO, if you will. We're now going to chase down every threat. Al-Qaeda listens to that. I think what we'll see now is a surge around the world of people walking into our embassies, of sending notes, and the threats will become squall-like.
Michael Scheuer, Mark Mix, thanks very much for joining us.